Okay, good evening, folks. I'd like to call a planning commission meeting for November 10th, 2016 to order, please. Could we have a roll call, Mr. Mosley?
Yes, sir. Chairman Powell, absent. Commissioner Chappell,
Present.
Commissioner French,
Here.
and Commissioner Ogden.
Here.
Commissioner Ogden, as our vice chair, you will be leading the meeting tonight.
Thank
You have a
very
quorum,
much.
sir.
We have public comments, but since we have a couple of items there, we'll hold off on those and ask you to comment at which time you're going to speak on those particular items. Could we have approval of the previous minutes from October 13th, 2016?
I move they be approved as written.
Motion made and seconded that they be approved as written.
All right, motion to approve and seconded. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Our first discussion and possible action is on application 2016-2011-3943 regarding the alley closure for property located at 501 South Division Street. Could we have a report from staff, please?
Yeah, Chairman, I'll let you know that both the attorney and the engineer for this project are present with us tonight. This was just left off in kind of some of the chaos that was the plat approval during the summer season. Towards the end of the summer, there was a lot moving around personnel-wise, and this just happened to be left off. They're coming back to officially close the alley by ordinance for the Goodwill project at 501 South Division. So again, you do have the attorney and the engineer here present, as well as you do have someone signed up for public comment that would like to speak.
Do we have any, on the letters that went out, do we have any comments on those, please?
You do not.
Okay. Whoever would like to speak, maybe
Nephew.
go to the podium, identify yourself, please, so we can know who you are. And
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Evelyn Nephew. I received a letter, and I wanted to address it. I don't mind the alleyway being closed, but I thought we were here the last time I asked that question, whether or not the alley was going to be closed, and told me no. But I do know there are two, on the south end of that alley, there's a business and a residence. The business uses the parking on the south side, on Grant. That's Grant. But the other person, resident next, that's how they get inside their parking is from the alley. So I didn't know if they had said anything about it or what.
can you address that, Mr. Mosley, that she's speaking of the three homes? I know we've got Adams Insurance at the end, and there's no question that that area is being used. That's the gravel portion of that alley. Can you comment to that for us?
Right. Typically, whenever we do an alley closure, it's more for the city operations, for right-of-way, those types of things. For anyone who uses the alley currently as it is today, I'd invite someone from the development team to come talk about that.
Didn't know before you leave. Do you have any other? We'll
No,
answer that.
that was my main concern, because, and the reason why it was my concern, because I know I did ask that question at the other hearing and said they would not be closed. But then you come back and say, yes, they want to close it. So my concern was those two businesses I just named, whether or not they will be able to get in and out.
Well, I think there's a home there also,
Well,
two
what?
homes and a business.
Two homes and a business.
There's three.
And we appreciate you bringing that
Okay.
up. We actually noticed that also.
All right.
So perhaps we need to address whether we're talking about asking for the whole alley's closure or just the portion that used to be behind the restaurant there. So perhaps we can get that clarified for
Okay.
all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nephew. Yeah, coming to the podium is Sherry Mueller, the development team's attorney.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And that was an excellent question, and it was one of my own. So when my clients called and were telling me what they were up to, I said, can you please come pick me up and drive me over there? Because we have some businesses and homes over in that area, and that's exactly what they have done. They have left that alone. We're just partially asking to close, and I have submitted a survey showing that we are not asking to vacate that part of the alley at all. We're not going to touch that part of the alley, so.
So anyone that currently has ingress will have egress moving forward?
Right.
Okay.
And I did see the home, and it actually has its garage
Okay.
backed up to the alley. I know my home here in Guthrie has the same thing, so I was concerned about cutting someone out of their own home, and we are not doing that. We're not asking that that part of the alley be vacated at all.
How is the alley going to end? Is there going to be a fence?
In other
Would they
words,
be able
will
to
there-
pull off of the alley into the parking lot? I mean,
And Jason Emmett with the engineering part of the development team
Name,
is now
please.
joining us.
I'll let the engineer take that.
Your name, please?
Jason Emmett with Cedar Creek Consulting. The alleyway, there is a connection from the parking lot into the alleyway, and that's something we work with staff and the engineering on to make sure that there was constant access all the way through.
so anyone in the alley would be able to go on into your parking lot?
Yes.
Is the way you see it?
Yeah,
And vice versa.
Vice-
Anybody in your parking lot could go behind the alley.
yes.
The current alley that's gravel
Yes,
portion.
correct.
Does that answer any questions that you had, Mrs. Nephew?
I have one question that's not related to this, but Cody, do we know if all three of those houses, is that zone commercial or residential? I know the business is on the far end, but are the other two homes residential? Is that whole area?
If you remember right, whenever they did the rezoning earlier this year, the part that they had to change because it was split, the former business that was there was already zoned commercial, but the lots that they were going to be platting
Was
moving forward
residential,
was
but my
residential.
thought-
So
but
the
I'm talking
impact
about-
on the other side was also residential.
But the houses and the insurance company that are on Division to the south, is that all commercial?
I believe that division right through there is strictly commercial, but I would have to go through our.
Because I mean,
Record
there's a lot of houses on South Division that are, commercial. So I just figured that maybe they were. Okay.
Again, going back, Ms. Nephew, you do have any questions?
At that time, they couldn't see spot zoning, because it was commercial, I mean, it was residence and commercial all along.
And the comment from the public right there was that there could have been spot zoning, a problem that has been addressed moving forward, but that could have been a problem all along for those that can't hear from the audience.
So what you've heard is that the alley portion that will be closed is the portion that was behind the restaurant there, and it will be part of the new,
But it's still going to be open.
but it will still be open. There will be access to the alley from their parking lot or access into the parking lot from the alley, as well as obviously from Grant Street. Does that clarify your? Thank you, folks.
And speaking back to kind of why the process would be, a lot of times we do street closures or alley closures just for right-of-way purposes. So it would allow anything that was previously closed to be built on in the future.
Okay, I guess my only further question on this might be, I'm assuming, obviously, Mr. Mosley, that all of the utilities have been handled.
Utilities have been handled.
Not a problem with them?
Utilities had to be handled before demolition began. And that's a requirement from cities, from the city staff's end on issuing any kind of demolition permit.
Okay, and since we know the demolition's already been done, I think one of the questions that you'd like to maybe clarify also, some sidewalks were taken out. Can you clarify for all
Yeah,
that drive and for the record that
no,
this will
yeah,
go back in?
We spoke with the engineer. There were going to be impacts to the sidewalks. And so with any kind of impact with new construction on sidewalks, any kind of modern sidewalk moving forward has to be ADA compliant. That could not have happened with the way that those existing sidewalks were constructed. And so we've expressed our intent with the engineer that they would replace those brick sidewalks. And they were very understanding of that.
And that would be on Perkins and on First Street, is that right?
It would be
Mr.
wherever
Engineer?
brick sidewalks were previously.
Now, the sidewalk on Perkins, was that brick?
No.
No.
But that will still be replaced.
It will be replaced. Any sidewalk that was there will be replaced.
At one time, they did have brick on First
On First Street.
Street and
First Street was
And I
brick.
think Jason Emmett would like to speak to the sidewalks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a moment.
Good.
Yeah, so one of the comments when we were going through with staff on the actual site plan was the current sidewalks that were there and the ramps did not meet ADA. They were not ADA compliant to today's standards, so we did revise those per city request The bricks in the back, I need to visit with you more on, I mean, we can reuse them. Technically, bricks don't comply with ADA. Those bricks won't because of the way they're rounded. I don't know how we need to deal with that, but we'll do whatever we need to do to work with the city to make sure that it's taken care of in the proper manner, yeah.
Thank you, Jason. And I don't want to get too far off of what the actual posted agenda item is, but Jason, we do appreciate you speaking to that.
Maybe before we lose him, and even though it might not be on the agenda item, rather than have it come up like you just said a little, I guess the only other concern that I might, and I've heard others, where are the large trucks going to be coming in on the, do you have an area that your truck deliveries are especially committed to coming in on? We were just wondering about that.
Yeah, they'll be coming off Division, and it's on the south side of the existing building is where the loading and unloading zone is.
So you have enough access.
Yeah, but
We haven't
also-
seen a final plot plan is the reason we're saying.
Are we not?
Well, not completed.
Staff has.
Oh, okay.
Staff has.
Yeah, and keep in mind, when Goodwill, when we talk about big
And-
trucks, you're talking about a box truck. It's not a,
Yeah.
you know,
I'm sorry, but the final plat was approved
that's right,
by Planning Commission and City Council.
as well as the site plan, I believe. Yeah.
And
Thank
this
you very
may,
much.
this may be off, but as I remember on the plat, wasn't there a lagoon with this?
There is a detention pond.
Pardon me, there is a retention pond for
There's
this?
a detention pond.
Huh?
Detention for rainwater.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, detention.
okay. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments.
So item number 4 was a discussion and possible action concerning the alley closure. And we're still, we've yet to hear a motion, but we have heard from nearby citizens and community leaders, and then also from the development team.
Gentlemen, any other comments, or may I hear a motion?
I would move to recommend approval of this application.
And I'll second.
We've had a motion and a second to approve.
Motion and
Mr.
second to
Mosley, could we have
approve
a-
item 4. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Let's go by commissioner name, if we will, on that, if we will, on something like this, please, Mr. Mosley. Motion has been made and seconded to approve it. Could we have by name, please?
Roll call vote.
Roll call by name on the vote?
Sure. Commissioner Chappell,
Yes.
Commissioner Ogden,
Yes.
and Commissioner French.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Our next discussion and possible action is on application 2016-2011-3927 regarding a special use permit for property located at 211 North First Street. Could we have some thoughts from staff, please? Mr.
Yeah,
Mosley?
ordinance number 3265 was adopted on November 4th, 2014, that requires any kind of storage warehouse facility to receive a special use permit from the city council. So obviously, if it is being issued by the city council, they need recommendation from the planning commission. This is in the central business district and within the historic preservation guidelines. So the historic preservation review, it would go before historic preservation for construction design, should it be approved by special use permit from planning commission and city council. Again, as we always do with special use permits and any recommendations that this board does make, we note that this is not the final say. This is just a recommendation to the city council. The item will be discussed on the December 6th, 2016 meeting right here in the same room at 7 p.m.
On what date?
December 6th.
December 6th, and that's after the planning commission? After the historical preservation?
No.
No.
If the special use permit will be heard by city council
I see.
first. If it is approved, if the special use permit is approved, then before the applicant could move forward, it would need to get construction approval, design approval from the Historic Preservation Commission.
Okay.
I see 45 letters were sent out, Mr. Mosley. Did we hear anything?
We did not.
Nothing at all.
None.
Gentlemen, comments?
I would move to recommend approval.
Can I ask a question, though?
And the applicant is here.
Hey, Vern. On the west elevation of the drawing here, are these garage doors, are they up in the air? It's sort of,
Well, no, they're that, from the alley up to those garage doors, it will be ramped up.
So the building inside is going to be, the floor is going to be level?
The floor will be level, but from the alley
This is
to
the
those
ramp.
garage doors, it's going to be ramped up.
Going up to the door.
You will
Going
drive basically in from
There will
Second
be an
Street,
incline
straight
up to those garage doors.
straight in
So-
from Second Street, but then going on down toward First, is
Exactly,
that correct?
exactly.
Straight up from Second Street?
Well,
No.
not Second Street, First Street. The
From
garage
First-
doors from First Street will be ground level.
Yeah.
And the building will be at ground level all the way to the back of the building.
Uh-huh.
And of course, we'll have to put fill in there to do that. And then to get to the alley, we'll
And it will,
slope that down.
and it will come down all the way to
Right.
First Street?
And that will
Is
be
this-
concrete all the way down to the alley.
And what is this going to be, like a raised road right in the middle of the block, sort of, down to First Street? Because the back of the building's so much higher than the current alley, right?
The back of the building will probably be roughly 3.5 to 4 feet above the alley grade.
Will the ramp go to the alley
Oh,
or will it
yes,
extend
yes,
across
yeah.
the alley?
No,
I
no, no,
did- our
it'll just go
plans-
to the alley.
Yeah, our plans do not show how long the building is and
What,
too much
70,
here.
70 feet
So-
long?
so 70
40
feet.
feet
Yeah, the
wide?
building's 70 feet long, yes.
So it's roughly, give or take, 30 feet from the alley, the end of
Right,
the alley. I'm
right.
with you. I see.
And again, special use really deals a lot with the intent of how the building is to be used. Does it match the nearby structures? Does it match, commercial for commercial, those kinds of
Yeah.
issues? So,
I guess I might have a question. The article in the paper, and of course you wrote that, Mr. Mosley, indicated the construction of storage facilities within the city limits. And I guess my first thought is, you kind of think of storage units a la our old skating rink area, those type of storage units, and then we got this, and it's. So
I missed the first part
Well,
you
I'm
said
saying
about the,
Our article in the paper
bowling?
indicates construction of storage facilities within city limits, storage facilities.
I think basically what he's saying is when I first got it, I thought it was mini storage when we got
Yeah, mini
notification of it, but that's not what it is at
oh,
all.
okay, I thought you said something about bowling.
Yeah,
but
well, the old
there's-
skating rink is what I'm saying, it is turned into those mini storage.
ACC storage.
Yeah, AOC.
Down on South
Oh,
Division.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And I had a little idea that, is that what we were looking for, and I'm not so sure that.
And I
that was
think
what-
the first notice, maybe the first notice we got of this didn't have the pictures in it.
No.
No, it wouldn't.
Didn't have the pictures, so it just said storage facility, so we were
Okay.
thinking mini storage, and that's not what it is at all.
It will be more like individual garage units because it will be 35 feet deep. Each unit will be 35 feet deep and approximately 12 to 13 feet wide. So you'll be able to drive cars in here or other vehicles for that matter. And therefore, that's why the overhead doors.
And this is neither here nor there, but you plan on renting these to people? Is that
Well,
the
I
plan?
actually plan on using at least one or maybe two of them
Two of them.
myself, but yeah, we would consider renting them out and
Right.
probably will if somebody would be willing
Right.
to do that.
And at that point, the lines became, a little bit blurred between how is this different from
Right.
what we have an ordinance saying requires a special use permit.
Right,
So,
right. So it is sort of mini storage, but it's for vehicles and stuff.
Yeah, well, it's not real many.
And this is going to be, is it going to be built on that existing foundation that's there? That's where we're talking
Well,
about, isn't
we're
it?
gonna have to bring fill into, there is a hole there.
this property was demolished recently.
Yeah,
Earlier this
yeah.
year.
That's what I thought, that's where I thought it was.
In fact, Commissioner Ogden and I met.
I would point out what the neighboring building looks like.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, Commissioner Ogden and I met at this site not long after it
Well,
was
that's
torn
why I
down.
wondered, because I thought when you got back here to the alley, that's your floor, right?
Well, it would match probably
Theoretically,
Second
yes.
Street technically.
Theoretically, that's your floor,
Level.
this height?
The floor is going to be with grade right here at the street. So,
Oh, okay.
so
So it's not as high as this?
not going back as much.
Right, and see, that's why I thought when you got to the alley, it was going to be,
Well,
No.
it's close.
Okay.
The front was a sidewalk.
Yeah.
I worked with Brooke on that thing,
Okay.
so I'm a little familiar with it. A question, Mr. Mosley, and we're looking at some of the plans here and how it might fit into the neighborhood, and I'm sure Historical will have a lot to say on that, will he not?
I'm sure.
Well, one other thing I would point out is I can stand at the east door of the bank first building, and look and see another steel building that's a little bit smaller than this one.
Yeah, that was I remember when that went in, it hacked a lot of people off. But
But it is there.
this isn't metal either.
Well, I wanted it to be, but
Yeah,
Mr. Mosley said that probably wouldn't fly.
I think this will fly. This will look good.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but we can put a steel roof on that if it's approved.
Correct.
We would like to do that
And a lot of the design elements will be
with the
at
historic.
a completely separate meeting
Yeah,
that none of these
Yeah.
commissioners sat on.
yeah.
Well, we would still.
Well, and I've even noticed
we'd
like
still like to be
the
able to-
garage that was built across the street, it's gonna look sort of similar to that and,
But a much bigger
yeah, but still.
type building, but yes, it would have that same type.
That's it's neither here nor there, but that's where the new bridge is gonna start, and that is gonna be sort of an entrance into town. And I think his recommendation to you on the siding was a good one. I make a motion to approve.
Well, we had a motion already.
Oh, then on my second.
We've had a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Could we have a roll call on that, Mr.
Certainly.
Mosley, please?
Commissioner French,
Yes?
Commissioner Ogden,
Yes.
and Commissioner Chapel.
Yes.
Motion is approved. A recommendation will be made to City Council for approval at the December 6th, 2016 meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Item 6, request for future items of discussion. In our last meeting, we did discuss the possibility of another little roundtable get-together, and I know that, Mr. Mosley, you've had hands full, a lot of changes down here in
Certainly.
City Hall. So
Certainly a
we
lot
know
of
that
change.
that's been very busy for you, so hopefully maybe you can look at that, and as time permits, we can get together and discuss some of those further little items having to do with the size of the property and what we want those things.
Yeah, I just kind of want to point out, we did host this workshop previously. We took the notes from that workshop, and then of course, that workshop was held in May. We took the notes from that workshop and put them as a recommendation to change the design guidelines in June. Made a few tweaks after the June meeting, and then there was still no action taken during the July meeting. And so, from staff's point of view, we've had this discussion already. I don't know what another workshop
We
would
never
it-
quite got those tweaks worked out, and I think there was
What-
some thoughts that maybe we needed to do a little bit more. And since then, we've received, I think you made sure that we got a
Yes,
letter.
I did.
And I think that the feeling was, correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Chappell, that in French, that we needed a little further discussion about this, a little bit.
And maybe that's a good question. Do the other commissioners feel that? Do you feel that that's necessary? Because
There's several items that we need to look at, not just what we've talked about, but,
okay.
we're a rural community. We're not Edmond, we're not New York City. And we need to get more in tune with the people that live in this area. And we've got several
Okay.
requirements that conflict and just aren't practical, in my view.
Okay. All right.
So perhaps what I would like to suggest is that when
Well, and if
your
I-
time permits, or perhaps Mr. Hankey's, if you can't be here, we have a little roundtable discussion, but not necessarily pinned down to a certain item, like you say. There's two or three
talk
things that
about it.
need to be brought up. And maybe by the time we get an additional commissioner, I don't know where that stands. Do you know where that is?
I believe it's on the agenda for next Tuesday night.
Anything else, gentlemen, on that?
And this is just commission comments?
Yes. No, future items of discussion.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Staff comments?
Not anything necessarily to do with tonight's meeting, but City Hall will be closed tomorrow in observance of Veterans Day. We do have a parade and some organized activities going on, so please attend those, and thank you to all those of our citizens that have served and have provided the freedom that we do so enjoy.
Thank you. Commissioner comments, Commissioner Chappell?
Yeah, I want to, and I want to address something that Commissioner French said about us being a rural community. And I hope that doesn't mean that like we're a hick community.
No, I didn't intend that at all.
And partly, my feeling has always been that Guthrie is special among cities in Oklahoma. In fact, I had just noticed that on a national publication, and it's called In Your State, and it's sort of a social media publication. But they just listed the 15 places that you need to visit in Oklahoma before you die. And Guthrie was on that list. And I just wanted to, and it's just one small paragraph, but this pretty much describes my feelings of Guthrie. It said, Guthrie is a rare community that offers the best qualities of small-town Oklahoma, living along with the culture, history, and economic growth most often found in larger cities. The town's quiet, tree-lined streets, beautiful neighborhoods, and history make this place a must-visit Oklahoma destination. Now, Guthrie was the only city listed. We're talking like Turner Falls, Arbuckle Wilderness. Tulsa and Oklahoma City didn't even make this list. And I don't, and I know we're a big city and we're sort of a diverse city. I mean big like area-wise. We're sort of spread out, but my opinion is that I don't want some of the negative things that happen in the country to affect the high standard that was started here at the turn of the century. And I know that at our last meeting, I did want to point out that we were given a letter from a gentleman that was talking about our metal building deal. And, when I got to the fourth paragraph, and he said that he had 9 cars and 2 trailers, and then he couldn't park them in his backyard. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't want him living next door to me.
Well, I don't need it, but if.
And he lives in town.
But if he's in a rural area.
But he lives in town, and so there has to be a consistency, and maybe that's why we need a workshop.
That's why we need to talk about that.
Because, it's one thing to have an accessory building in your backyard, but it's another thing to have a barn. And a barn is for the country.
Or a car.
It's not for the city, or a building that will hold 9 cars and 2 trailers. So
Right.
I just wanted to get that out there.
Okay.
So.
Thank you, Mr. Chappell. Very good. Mr. French?
Have nothing, thank you.
And I have nothing, so I will take a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
You're adjourned.
We are adjourned. Thank you.